Good day, and welcome once again to River Falls in Focus. As you can see, I'm standing in front of our brand new, beautiful and functional River Falls City Hall, which we moved into on the 1st of May. Shortly, we will be moving upstairs into the office of Scott Simpson, our new city administrator, where I will be interviewing him, and then after that, we will be taking a video tour of the inside of our building. Stay tuned. Good day and welcome once again to another edition of River Falls in Focus, a program that tries to keep citizens of River Falls aware of what's going on, sometimes in city government, sometimes not. This particular edition will be about city government, and with me this morning is, I am proud to say, our brand new city administrator, Scott Simpson. Scott, can you give us a little bit about your background, academic and professional, please?
Sure. I come to River Falls via Waukesha County, City of Janesville, and City of Lancaster. I worked in various positions in local government in those three agencies, the last position being a city administrator in Lancaster. And I'm a graduate of Carroll College in Waukesha and Northern Illinois in DeKalb. I have a master's in public administration.
It seems to me I saw or read somewhere that you were given an award, and I don't remember the details on it. You probably have been given more than one award, but this was not a Lancaster award. It was a county association award, as I remember. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, the last award, I guess, that I received was a Program Excellent Award from the International City Management Association. That was for, we established a branch library in a little community called Potosi, Wisconsin. They didn't have enough resources to have a library of their own, so we established a branch, and that was an award-winning program.
And how many contestants or competitors for that kind of an award typically are there?
I think they typically award about 6 awards in different categories per year. I think we were up against 6 or 8 other communities after it got finalists and to that stage. So
is this a state award?
It's the International City Management Association.
International City Management. So there were plenty of competitors.
That's right.
Congratulations to that to you on that. Going back. When you first became acquainted of the opening in River Falls, had you been thinking about moving generally at that point or not?
I think in this profession you're always generally thinking about things and what your future goals are, but we weren't actively looking for the River Falls position. It was a position that came available, and the recruiter that you hired had spoken with me about it and looked like a good opportunity.
Okay, well then that maybe negates my next question, is why were you interested in River Falls, but you probably have answered it. Or do you have anything more to say?
Well, I think that, we were interested, I have a young family, and we're looking for the benefit of this job is that a good professional environment is typically found in a good community environment, so we were looking for both a professional and personal place that we could appreciate. So for all the reasons other people live here, that's why we wanted to come. The proximity to the Twin Cities and the family-friendly size of the community, and being a university community was also of interest.
Now, I understand, and in fact I know you've moved into town. Where are you living, and what's the situation for your kids in school?
Well, we purchased a home on the west side. My oldest is only 5, so she won't be entering kindergarten until next year. So we're getting our choices of. We're looking at the schools. We've got some good grade school opportunities within the River Falls district, and we're looking forward to that, having our kids in school.
How does the reality of this River Falls job, if it does, differ from what you expected coming in?
The reality different. Well, I did a lot of homework, as you know, trying to make the decision to move north. So the realities of the job have been about what we expected. It's been a little colder though, so the personal reality is that the temperature's been a little colder. But I've been assured by several people that this is unseasonably cold for River Falls.
It is unseasonably cold, and if I could, mayors can do a lot of things, and I'm working on the weather. The next question I have here is, what are your short-term goals?
Well, I think primarily what I want to do in the short term, in the first 3 months on the job, is just get to know people and the community. I think the best asset I can have when trying to evaluate things with the council is just to understand the community better. So that my focus has really been on learning the organization and the community. That's my short-term goal.
I'd like to back up a little bit here and say that Scott came out of a pool of 53 candidates, and he referred earlier to help that we got. We hired a guy out of La Crosse to narrow the field from 53 to about 25, and our guy in La Crosse did that, and then he interviewed the 25 remaining, and that was cut to 5 through those interviews. And then the city council and I were a part of a team that interviewed the 5. Then we cut that to 2 and brought those 2 back in and interviewed those 2. And all the way through the interview process, the consensus of the group, the 8 of us, was that Scott stood out, and we are very glad to have him here. The long-term goals, have you been here long enough to have any long-term goals or develop any?
Well, I think those are developing, but I tend not to focus necessarily on project goals, but I think what my long-term goal for the community is to be recognized as a leader amongst its peers. So when people are looking for examples of how a well-run and well-operating local government, I want them to think of River Falls. So that's a long-term goal for us.
And what are some of the differences between this job and what you did in Lancaster?
There's more similarities than differences. The size brings some additional complexity. I think one of the major differences is there's more staff resources available to me as the administrator. So when the leadership team here is a little bit larger, there's a little more intellectual resources at my that are available to me in my role of assisting the community in achieving what they want. So that's an exciting thing for me to have some of the talent that we've got here.
Now, it's apparent to people watching that we're sitting in a new office, or it isn't apparent, it should be. And so that means we're in a new city hall. What are your impressions early on of this building?
My impressions are a great improvement. I was in the other building a couple times. It didn't influence whether or not I was going to come, I guess, but because I knew you had the new building coming. But perhaps if you said you didn't, that would have been a concern. But I think this building gives us the opportunity to serve the public better than the old building that they were in. I think it's going to bring some of the services in a location where provide more visibility. The cable television, the court, the recreation department are all now under this one wing, so it gives a lot more visibility to that. And I think the public spaces in here are some of the best spaces that there are. I think the council chambers is very accommodating to the public. There's meeting rooms and spaces available for us as staff to meet with people on community interest projects. So I'm real pleased with what I've seen.
I remember from the interviews we had of you that one of the things you mentioned that you thought was a plus was University of Wisconsin River Falls. How do you see city and university working together?
Well, the International City Managers Association has a special group for us, and they call us town and gown communities, and they provide a lot of resources as how the city government can work with the university. So we're all the university, the school district, the city, the county, we're all working together to try to keep a strong community. And I think it's clear already in my first 30 days here that the university is a large part of the fabric of the community. So I think we just try to keep those that communication open and find ways to work together.
And I know our new chancellor, who just began his work a week or so ago, Dean Van Galen, said to me early on that he's very interested in collaboration between the city and the university, as was Don Betts, his predecessor. So I'm looking forward to even more collaboration now. Well, one of the things expressed often to me when they find out that we have a young city administrator on the rise is, well, how long is he going to stay? And so I'm going to say here, or ask you here, where do you see yourself, say, 10 years down the road?
10 years down the road, I'll probably be sitting in the passenger seat of my car with my daughter learning to drive. So that's a bigger concern to me at this point as far as what city I'll be working in. But I think the realities are this career has a tendency to move people around. I think, though, that some of the old held observations that this is a every 3, 4, 5 year thing is not the case anymore. I mean, the statistics in my profession really show that there's a lot of length in tenure, especially in once you get to a community of this size. I think there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of challenge. So as long as the council is still happy and we're still finding good challenges to work on together, that's the plan at this point. So if I steered around that answer, I was trying to.
Well, it wasn't an easy question to answer, and I thought your answer was adequate. Do you have any things to say that I haven't brought up that you would like to say?
I've been appreciative of the attitude and the welcome that we've got from city officials, the city staff, and the community, and we're really looking forward to River Falls being our home, and looking forward to the challenges that we're going to have together as a council and staff and community. So.
And one of the things you mentioned in the interview was that you planned to, in fact, you sent to me before, once it was confirmed that you were hired, you sent to me and all the council people and several others a question or a request for us to give you 10 names that we thought you should meet that would speed up your involvement in the city. We were impressed with that particular question, and I'm wondering how much progress you've made along it. I haven't been here very long, so have you started that process?
I have started the process, although not everybody that's been involved has known they've been in the process. But no, I think the compiled list that I have has over 100 names, so there's plenty of people to meet and talk with. I've been meeting with people on an impromptu basis, and we've also set up a few meetings. But it's going to likely take me a number of months to get through that list, but I'm looking forward to it because I think you get a good feeling, good perspective on the community when you get a broad-based list like that.
So you say there are over 100 names. Does that include duplicates, or there must have been some duplicates?
No, there was a number of duplicates, but that got me down to 100. So there's a number of names to work through, but that's a good thing. There's lots of nice people to meet, and lots of people I'm sure that can provide some feedback as far as what their expectations are of the community.
Okay, well, that about wraps it up. This has been another edition, been the first in quite a while, as a matter of fact, of River Falls in Focus. My name's Don Richards, and we hope you were informed. And right after this, we're going to have a tour of the building, so stick around. Hi, I'm standing in front of the new City Hall, as you can see, with Christy Treichel of the Engineering Department, and we're going to talk about some features of this building that save runoff from the roof. Christy, I'm standing on what you call pavers, but they're not impervious pavers. What do they do?
Basically, these pavers are very similar to regular pavers. They look the same, they kind of act the same. The main difference is there's holes in the corners where they come together, and these holes allow the water to go through them, basically making this whole patio area, both here and the one down below, act just very similar to a lawn area.
I see, Christy, we have a downspout there. Where does water from the roof go after it goes down the spout?
Most of the water from the roof, probably about 90%, goes into roof drains, and the roof drains are connected directly into our underground infiltration features.
And what are those underground infiltration features like?
Basically, it's a large box of rocks underneath. Up here, it's underneath the parking lot. Down there, it's in a grassy area. But these rock areas allow the water a chance to be stored down there, and it gives the soil time to soak it in and replenishes the groundwater supply, which then in turn replenishes the Kinnickinnic River.
And as I look out here into the parking lot on the west side, I see little troughs out there. What are those all about?
Those areas, the parking lots both above and below, are designed to drain directly into these grass swale areas. The grass area will then treat the water. Basically, as the water goes through it, some of the sediments and oils and things like that can filter out, and then from those grass swale areas is where they discharge into the underground infiltration areas.
So at most, am I right in saying 10% of the water that comes from the roof or off the roof, and maybe, I don't know what percent that drains into those swales, goes into the Kinnickinnic at most?
I would say that'd be about accurate. Everything is designed to take an 1.5-inch event for infiltration, and over 90% of the rains we get in Wisconsin come in events that are less than an 1.5 inches. And even if we get a 2-inch event, the first 1.5 inches of that should be captured and treated.
Are there any other features of water savings or water purification that I haven't asked you about?
Most of them we got. The only difference is there is some pavers in the parking lot area too. Those also drain directly down into the infiltration features, whereas the pavers in the patio area basically just decrease the amount of impervious on the site, whereas the ones near the infiltration areas also act as another conduit into the underground infiltration feature.
And these features that we've been talking about gave us what are called LEED points, L-E-E-D, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, to help us along the way to get to what we hope is eventually gold LEED certification. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, we've been talking here, Christy Treichel and I from the engineering department, about features that are new and exciting about the River Falls City Hall. Hi, I'm standing here in front of the brand new City Hall, River Falls City Hall, with Mark Paschke of Frisbee Architects. And we're on the bridge leading to the City Hall, as you can see. And Mark, what kind of features of the new City Hall have to do with the way the bridge was before you ever started building?
Well, I guess a couple of the objectives that we tried to achieve in siting the building as it is was to maintain a strong connection for City Hall to the existing downtown. Also respect the sensitivity of the site with its proximity to the river. Also maximize the open space on the site, create as much public open space as possible.
I noticed that the brick along here, the building brick, not that down here, but it matches your brick up there on the face of the building. That was a conscious choice, I assume?
Yes, it was to match or replicate the native limestone that lines the river in this part of the Kinnickinnic.
And then there's a color match here with this red brick next to the sidewalk and the red in the City Hall. That's good. And you talked about open space, and I know that's a LEED category. That is, if you leave open space more than what was in the area before, you get points, LEED points. Is that correct?
That's true. What we tried to achieve here by maximizing the open space, if you were familiar with the site before, Clark Street connected to Maple Street at this corner. By removing Clark Street and the associated parking lots, we were able to achieve a net gain in open space And also a benefit of that, by removing Clark Street, we have a direct pedestrian access to the building from the Maple Street Bridge.
And I think I should explain that LEED points, L-E-E-D, means Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and we are on track to gaining possible gold LEED certification for this City Hall, which will be, if we get it, the only City Hall in the state of Wisconsin that is so certified. You get certain points for certain things you do, and we just discussed this open space category. We'll be talking about more possibilities for LEED points as we move back toward the building. We are standing on the plaza, which has pavers that have holes around the edges. Mark, what's the purpose?
These are what's referred to as a permeable concrete paver. By using this type of paver, they don't count as being an impervious surface. Essentially, when the rainwater lands on this, it infiltrates on site as opposed to running off. The additional spaces between the pavers themselves allow the water to soak in directly.
Well, we have, this is a slope right down to the river, and so that's a good thing, so we don't have runoff right off the pavers into the river. Right over here, there is a drain coming from the roof. You told me that was an overflow drain. That means that only in a very heavy rain event we have water through that drain. What happens normally when the rain comes off the roof or hits the roof?
At each drain location, there's the primary roof drain, and that primary roof drain, the leaders are taken underground, and the water is conveyed to the infiltration area just to the north of the plaza. And then at each roof drain location, there is what's referred to as an overflow. The overflow is there in case of emergency. In case the primary backs up, the secondary is there to discharge the roof drainage. And if water is ever observed coming out of that overflow, you know that we have a problem with the primary drain.
So then you say there is the area over here which is the infiltration area, and how big is that, and what's it made of?
It's a lined infiltration area designed by our civil engineer in conjunction with the engineering department of the city of River Falls. The area is approximately 20 by 40. All of the roof drains, gutter downspouts are piped to that location on this side of the building, and from there that's allowed to percolate and actually soak into the soil. In an event of a heavier storm, the stormwater is piped to the city's stormwater system.
Now, you mentioned the roof before. I understand that the roof is reflective. That got us LEED points too?
Yes, the reflectivity of the roof, what we have here, we have a white thermoplastic roof. What we're trying to achieve there is reduce the solar heat gain of the roof. And they specify a certain threshold of the reflectivity of that material. And by installing this highly reflective roof on 3/4 of the building, we're able to reduce the cooling load of the building and thus reduce the solar heat gain of the building as well.
What about all this glass? There's a lot of glass in this building. What does that do to get us LEED points?
The glazing on the building contributes towards a couple aspects with regards to LEED. First of all, the thermal performance of the building. This glass allows only 40% of the visible light transmittance, the spectrum of light, to radiate through the glass.
Does it heat the inside at all?
It does allow solar radiation through, but it does cut a large percentage of that heat, reducing our thermal heat gain on the building. But at the same token, with
So
the
that
large
means
surface area,
we have to use less air conditioning.
Correct, it contributes to that.
Yeah.
But on the same token, we want to introduce as much natural light and daylight to the building to reduce our lighting load and provide visitors and staff with daylight and views to the outdoors as well.
Is there anything about the tilt of the roof angle that has to do with the sun's angle? For instance, over at the University Center, I know, they have their roof angle tilted so that the maximum amount of sun can come in the winter and a minimum amount in summer. Did we do anything with that?
Not on this particular project. We do have deep overhangs on the south face of the building on our sloped roof portions. Here it's an architectural feature on the east and north sides of the building.
What about insulation? I understand that we have more insulation than an ordinary building would have. That got us lead points, right?
Yes, that contributes to the thermal performance of the building envelope. The type of stucco system that we have on the building that you see on the upper portion is referred to as an exterior insulation finish system. What that is a rigid foam insulation that's directly applied to the outside of the building, from which a base coat and stucco is applied to. And then also we increased the building insulation from what was required per base code from an R30 to an R40, and also with the additional foam insulation on the exterior of the building and our composite brick and stud wall system, we have an R value that's above what is required by code as well.
Purchase of materials. We gained lead points because we were able to purchase materials locally, meaning within a 500-mile radius. Where did we buy the materials largely?
The materials that contributed to that aspect of the project were the concrete brick. The red brick that you see on the building is actually a concrete brick. It's manufactured in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's a product by County Materials Corporation. It also contains a 20% recycled content. Also, some other materials that contribute to that are the pavers that we're standing on here are manufactured in Kimball, Minnesota. It's Aqualock, a Versalock retaining wall product out of Oakdale. And then also some products that aren't visibly seen, the concrete used on the product, and then also the precast concrete floor plank that was used as the structural floor system.
And I understand we gained lead points also because we were able to recycle 91% of the rubble that came from the old hospital and from the pavement or the parking lot. Is that correct?
That's correct. The old Ingram Center, the two houses that were on the site, Clark Street, the existing asphalt, even a lot of the vegetation that was removed was chipped and used for mulch material. But a lot of that material was ground up and used as a sub-base for our new parking lot and base material.
All right, let's go inside. Now we're standing on the west side of the building with the large parking lot, the place where most of the public will come to park and do business. Here, Mark, there's a difference between this side and the east side. Can you explain why that is? I mean, obviously there's a difference on the two sides, but why does it look different from here?
The building really has two fronts, accessed from the east and west sides of the building. The east side of the building, as we discussed earlier, was really to be correlate to the downtown district. Over here on the west side, on the Lewis Street side, where we're adjacent to an existing residential neighborhood, we wanted to scale the building down and reflect the residential neighborhood and not overshadow it. Thus the one-story entrance and a more residential feel on the Lewis side of the building.
And on the other side, the east side, you have essentially a two-story building to reflect the predominant two-story buildings on Main Street?
Correct.
I didn't realize that until I just talked to you about it. Well, it's very attractive, and you said something about the shingles and the roof being more visible here. That ties into because it makes it look more like a residence because you can see the roofs. Is that correct?
Oh, we put a sloped roof on a couple of the departments here on the Lewis Street side of the building, just to reflect some of that and blend into the residential nature of the surrounding neighborhood with the asphalt shingles.
Well, that's interesting, and then we'll go to another spot on the tour. We're standing inside the council chambers, a vast improvement over what we had in the old city hall where we could seat 20 to 25 people. And when we had important events, people that wanted to come had to sit out in the hall and watch it on TV. That won't be the case here. Mark, this is a beautiful room. I really like the colors that you have chosen. Let's start with the carpet here. I understand there's recycled material in the carpet. Talk about that a little, will you please?
Yes, there's a 10% recycled content in the carpet itself. It's a carpet manufactured by Shaw Industries. Once again, it's not a high content. We need to match our budget as well, but we're looking at all the possibilities, and all the little items add up.
So when you say you need to match your budget, the higher the percent of recycled material in the carpet, the more costly it is?
Not necessarily, but at this time, some of those more highly recycled products do involve a higher premium in cost at this point to support that recycling stream. But also, at this point, there's less availability in colors and choices to pick from with the higher recycled content materials.
And in the east side, the rear of the council chambers here, we have 3 very large windows, which are obviously, first of all, allowing a lot of natural light to come in when the shades aren't drawn, but they also add to the attractiveness of the place. And what about other considerations here? For instance, we've got tiles up above. What about the recycled material in the tiles?
The ceiling tiles that we have here in the council chambers and in the public areas throughout the building do contain 48% recycled content. They're a mineral fiber ceiling tile. They were selected primarily for sound deadening qualities, aesthetic quality, and also their recycled content.
And what else in here has any recycled content in it? I think you mentioned doors.
The doors by Marshfield Door Systems here in Wisconsin have manufactured recycled content mineral core. You'll find those doors throughout the building. Also, the window systems, the Conair aluminum frames are from recycled content. They contain about 55% recycled aluminum.
Paints, did you say?
Paints, sealants, coatings, all of these items were specified with the knowledge that we were pursuing LEED certification. And one of the credits that LEED advocates is low or no VOCs. VOCs are volatile organic compounds that contribute to asthma, upper respiratory problems, just eliminating what it was commonly referred to as the new car smell, just eliminating that from the building, eliminating those types of materials that would off-gas once they're installed and be potentially harmful to visitors and occupants.
Other than that, that is the low VOC. Are there other qualities of the air in here that make it healthy, in quotes?
That's the primary objective, I guess, of the materials, was to select materials that were VOC free or low in their content. Some of the other items that were included involve things that were done during construction to mitigate irritants, dust control, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide monitoring during construction. You have, using the temporary heaters that don't contribute to a harmful working condition for the contractors. But basically, the low or no VOC materials are the primary avenue that was chosen to reduce those toxins for the long term.
Well, thank you, Mark Paschke from Frisbee Architects, for the tour and for all your efforts to make this a LEED certified building. I'm very excited about the fact that we may get LEED Gold.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me, and it was a pleasure to introduce some of these ideas to this project.